In our last learning target, we learned how to solve systems by graphing. There are also what are called algebraic methods to solving systems. The first algebraic method is called solving by substitution. So think about what happens when you have a substitute teacher. They take the place of your regular classroom teacher. So what we're going to be doing is substituting one value for a value that's equal to it. So we start by putting a box around the expression that's solved for one variable. So when we look at our first equation, we've got x plus y equals 8. Well, that's solved for 8. It's not solved for either variable. Our second equation, we have y equals 3x. So our second equation is solved for y. So we're going to put a box around the value that y is equal to. Next, we're going to put a box around that same variable in the other equation. It's very, very important that you put the box around the same variable, because what we're doing is we're substituting an equivalent expression for, in this case, y. So we're replacing y with something that y is equal to. Okay, so once you have your boxes set up, you, as I mentioned, replace the variable with the first box. So we're going to rewrite this equation as x plus, and you have to change the box to a parentheses because there may be some situations where we have to distribute, equals 8. So what you want to do to check to see if you did your substitution correctly is if your new equation has one variable, you're probably good. If you're still seeing two variables in your one equation, you probably replaced the wrong variable. Or maybe you replaced the wrong box. All right, solve. So we're going to solve it like a normal equation. X plus 3x combines to 4x. Dividing both sides by 4, following the golden rule of algebra, we get x equals 2. Step 5, solve for the other variable. What you want to do is use the equation that's already solved for y. We could use the first equation, but we'd have to do a little bit more work, so it's just a lot easier to use the one that's already solved for y. So now we're substituting 2 for x, and we get y equals 6. I think I missed this step. I would say step 6, write your answer as an ordered pair. So think about the fact that if we graphed these equations, they would meet at the point 2, 6 on the graph. And as always, step 6, on my column over there, check your solution. Now we already checked our solution, I need to grab a different color here, in this equation, because that's how we solved for y. So we already know that that equation is true, so we only have to check our solution in the first equation. So I'm going to show my checking down here. We're substituting 2 for x, substituting 6 for y. Does that equal 8? Yes. 2 plus 6 equals 8. So it checks out, so our solution works in both equations. Let's take a look at another example. Again, step 1, we want to put a box around the expression that is solved for one variable. Again, looking at my second equation, I've got x equals y plus 3. Step 2, put a box around the same variable in the other equation. I've got x equals, so I believe replacing x in my first equation. And then we do our substitution. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as 2 times the quantity y plus 3. So I'm substituting or replacing x with an expression that it is equal to. Then we have to finish our equation. Plus 2y equals 38. We solve our equation. This time we do have some distribution, so I'm going to multiply both terms by 2. So we've got 2y plus 6 plus 2y equals 38. Some of you might like to subtract 6 first. I like to combine my like terms. So I see a 2y plus 2y, which gives me a total of 4y. Now I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I'm left with 4y equals 32. Dividing both sides by 4, y equals 8. Okay, so once we have that variable solved for, we go back to Again, I like to use the equation that's already solved. So I'm going to substitute 8 for y to solve for x, and I get x equals 11. So my solution is 11, 8. Remember to put your x coordinate first, because we graph our x first on the coordinate plane. And finally, check your solution in the other equation. You only have to do one check this time. So this is the equation that I'm going to be checking. Substituting 11 for x, substituting 8 for y. Does that equal 38? 2 times 11 is 22. 2 times 8 is 16. And 22 plus 16 is 38. So we got both equations to check, so we got the right solution.